Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jake Brookman from CoinFund. This is CoinFund Q&A. This is a very exciting CoinFund Q&A because for the first time ever, we're doing it on the Rize platform, the first product on props by YouNow. Today, we have Eric Lee with us. Eric is currently working on a project called HubToken. Eric is also one of the co-founders of LinkedIn. Hi, Eric. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Jake. Great to be here.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your history with that company and how you came to be in blockchain and working on HubToken?
Sure. Well, there's so many stories to tell, but yeah, LinkedIn was something that got started about 15, 16 years ago. And we really wanted to, solve the problem of keeping track of our network. I think people, all of us in Silicon Valley here, there's a lot of job mobility. That means people move around from job to job pretty often. And you always want to keep track of the interesting people that you want to work with, either you've worked with or want to work with in the future. And so we really built this platform for ourselves, was to try to keep track of people as they were moving from one job to the other. And turns out that a lot of other people thought it was an interesting idea as well. So that's how we got started, and it became pretty successful. And the way that I got to blockchain was about a year ago. Uh, I was talking to an investor, and they said, "Hey, have you checked into this blockchain, stuff?" And I certainly knew about it, but I decided to just dive in and figure out what was happening. And to my amazement, my complete amazement, there were so many interesting things that were happening in blockchain and with cryptocurrencies. And I decided I just had to be a part of it. And at around the same time, I was just getting a lot of feedback actually from people who certainly fans of LinkedIn and what we did there, but also kind of recognize some new opportunities to create some more improvements around how people interact with each other online and on social networks and professional networks. So I had been kind of just collecting a lot of that feedback over the years, and it occurred to me that blockchain could actually fundamentally solve some problems that we're seeing today on networks and online communities. And that's why we're starting HubToken.
Awesome, fantastic. And yeah, I think to your point, you mentioned you got into blockchain about a year ago. I think in 2016 it was still like a relatively obscure space, but what we've seen over the course of the last year, is not only the growth of the ICO market, but also kind of some very early mainstream penetration of blockchain, and very experienced founders and very established companies have been looking into the blockchain space, and seeing if that kind of technology makes sense for them, and seeing if they want to build new products or business models on that kind of technology. Do you want to take us into HubToken and tell us a little bit about this product and what your vision is for the HubToken platform?
Yeah, sounds good. So HubToken, really, there is a token, but it really more represents a protocol. And the topic that we're addressing is really this whole idea around trust and reputation. And so, as many people here know, one of the reasons for blockchain to exist is because of trust and bringing greater trust to digital interactions. And
Hmm.
so, what we saw was that the internet so far has been really awesome in terms of bringing people together and bringing many people together, so that each person really has the opportunity to meet many more people who are online and connecting to them online. But in the case of people who want to interact with each other, be it transactions or otherwise, or even sort of sharing information. There's a distinct lack of trust and trustworthiness, and this is really really important because interactions and transactions don't go that far when you don't have trust or a low level of trust. And so we believe that when you increase trust on the internet, that leads to greater economic opportunities for everyone, whether you're already on the internet today or you're not yet on the internet and you want to somehow get on the internet. And so the hub protocol, which is what we're calling the human trust protocol, is really about building a new layer on the internet, and a new layer where uh, people can have basically not only verifiable reputation data, but also portable reputation data. And the idea is that as you're interacting on various applications or services or communities, you're developing a reputation for yourself, right? Whatever the domain is, and there could be multiple domains. The idea is that you can take that reputation and you're not locked into those communities or those applications that you're in, and that you're able to move them around and participate in new communities and bring your reputation there, so that you don't have to start over when you want to join a new community and take advantage of interacting with those people. So we've got certainly a lot of detail about how we are going to do that. But basically, that's the idea behind the Human Trust Protocol.
Fantastic. And so, according to the HubToken white paper, you talk about how this starts with, and then it starts with a reputation solution, trust. This concept of trust sort of follows from that. Can you talk a little bit about what does that mean for regular kind of users?
But yeah, yeah. So so basically, um, you can look at trust as kind of a prediction market. And when you are talking to somebody, let's say you're trying to buy something online, or you're trying to sell something online, you're working with somebody else on the other side. And how do you know whether you can trust them or not? And so that is basically a trying to predict whether someone is going to do what you like them to do. And so how do you do that, right? And so we have this idea that interactions of many different kinds, and there can be many different kinds of domains. You can imagine things like peer-to-peer marketplaces or online communities, social networks, even messengers, where there's interactions with strangers. You're trying to assess whether they're going to do what you'd expect them to do. And so we want to capture basically a core set of interactions. We're not going to develop all of them. We have this platform where developers can come in and create interactions. And so we have this idea that interactions could be encoded as basically a smart contract that not only sort of mediates the interaction, helps kind of kick off the interaction, but also, more importantly, records the outcome of those interactions. So if you're, selling something online, let's say, and did the buyer, like what you sold, and had a successful experience with buying what you were offering. And so those outcomes are especially important because they form the basis of reputation. And the idea is that when you go through these interactions, you can basically put some stake down. All the parties would put some stake down to basically ensure that things would go well. That the stake is sort of like a bond that says, hey, I'm going to be, holding up my end of the bargain here. I'm going to be trustworthy through this interaction. And that's where the tokens come in. And assuming everything goes well, people get their stake back, and there's a reward function that rewards them with more tokens than they otherwise staked. But if things don't go well, then that gets into the interesting part of the scenario where the stake actually, according to the smart contract, according to the definition of the interaction, gets reallocated, to other parties. So in fact, those participants who might be sort of uh, you know committing some kind of offense in the interaction might lose their stake, and that goes to some other people as well. So that's all determined by the smart contract, and that all that information basically gets recorded, sort of as a snapshot of what happened on our blockchain, and that forms the basis of reputation. So you can imagine that, if I'm a seller in a marketplace, I'm offering a service or a product, and I go through a lot of these different types of interactions with buyers, I'm going to collect some kind of reputation as being either, a good seller or maybe a mixed seller, and so forth. And
Hmm.
so that becomes the basis of my reputation and my trustworthiness. Of course, the blockchain can record um, both positive outcomes as well as negative outcomes, about you. And so, we don't want this to be just kind of a situation where it's all about non-negative feedback, because really that weakens the reputation system. So there can be positive outcomes and negative outcomes. And in the case of negative outcomes, we also have a scenario for arbitrators and so forth to get involved to help adjudicate, the outcomes and kind of figure out, which parties, supposed to be, in the right here with regard to the outcomes. But the idea is that, and this is a very important part of the protocol, is that each user really owns their reputation and they're in control of that data. So they can choose to disclose what they want to disclose to a community in order to, gain trustworthiness, and so that's really a choice that's left up to them. And we've got some fancy technology for actually how we can implement that in the protocol. But the idea is that we're motivating users to obviously be trustworthy, because if they disclose more information about themselves, and particularly if that information, those outcomes are good, then they in some sense have a lot of trust. But if they choose not to disclose that information, maybe because it's somehow mixed or something like that, they have a chance to, in effect, kind of, you know, start over, and they, kind of reset their trustworthiness in a community and have a chance to, rebuild that. But that choice is really up to them, and they can decide whether they'd like to, reveal, what they want to, or how much of it they want to reveal, and that's a very important part of it. So we want to make sure that users, feel like and are in control of their reputation data at all times.
So that's awesome. And one thing that I was saying before is that today reputation online really exists in a bunch of different websites or apps that a user might use on the internet, and we say that it's siloed, right? So if you want to, for example, make use of your Facebook identity or your Twitter reputation, you have to sign in with those particular applications. And one of the promises of blockchain technologies is they sort of democratize and open up this kind of user data to make it available across different platforms, different applications. And do you see HubToken protocol as kind of competing for that slot, that open kind of identity that a user might have online, that they would be able to use it across all merchants and social networks and so forth?
Yeah, that's really what we hope for, and of course there are several steps to get there. It's not something that we will be able to do, overnight. But we do believe that there are going to be new applications that need reputation, and in fact, there are probably going to be new blockchain-based applications where the whole concept of reputation and trust and identity needs to be built up, pretty much from scratch. and we'll be able to just plug in there and offer some new value right away. And then for the existing kind of applications that have their own reputation systems, what we hope is that eventually we'll be able to offer them some pretty interesting data about either their current users or new users that they can access that are trustworthy as well, that will add you know um, to the trustworthiness of those marketplaces and communities. And so it's definitely kind of a stepwise approach where we're looking at sort of new applications that need new reputation systems, and with the hope that over the long term we're going to be able to provide something that's incredibly valuable to existing platforms that have their own reputation systems but are limited in various ways.
I think we have a question here from the audience. Let's see if we can make use of the Rize app. Called Montreal Player, who had a question about blockchain IDs. Awesome. Hello there.
Wow. Okay. You caught me
You,
eating.
you're you're on with Eric Lee of LinkedIn and HubToken.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. I'll ask my question live. Yeah, I was wondering if having a, I like the idea of having a blockchain as a measure of identity, especially online, because I would like to see if it would be possible to decouple your online ID and your real world ID. It's uh, it's kind of discomforting to know that your entire life belongs to companies, and if there was a way to establish trust, with your online ID and use that specifically for online business and still maintain a real world ID, that would be something that would have value, at least to me. Uh,
Yeah.
I think it would have value. Whether or not it has value would be for the real world to decide.
Yeah, I love that question. First of all, I want to say that this is really cool, this
Yeah,
Rise app. So,
absolutely. Right
um,
away connected.
exactly, exactly. So, yeah, we have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about that question, and first of all, I'm a big proponent of people owning their data and controlling their data. You can actually see that already from the LinkedIn days when we LinkedIn really had a choice between kind of working with companies to collect HR data, or going straight to the user who is a professional, might be working for a company, and saying, hey, this profile is really yours, and so when you move from one company to another, it's your profile. It's not the fact that the company that you're working at owns your profile. So I would say that LinkedIn really began on that journey already, and with this blockchain based approach that we have at Hub, we're really continuing on that journey to make it even more portable for the user. So we talked a lot about before we launched the project. We talked a lot about the issues around identity, and how people want to represent themselves online, and we basically came to the conclusion that um, people are they have multiple personalities. That's the way it starts. They don't just have one personality. They depending on the situation that they're dealing with, they actually are switching identities,
Hmm.
and in some cases they want to be anonymous as well. And
Yeah.
so we don't want to force people into a box and say, hey, you can only have one identity or one reputation on this blockchain.
Mm.
We want to in fact say, go ahead, and to the degree that you want to have multiple identities, go for it. To the degree that you want to have an anonymous identity, go for it as well. And there's a lot of work right now around decentralizing identity that we want to build on and add to, rather than being another kind of option in that space. So, so we believe that as long as you are a trustworthy identity, no matter who you are, it doesn't really matter, right? It really matters. What really matters is whether you're trustworthy in the context of your relationships with other people,
Right.
online, and that's what we want to support. There's that famous cartoon back in the early days of the internet. where there's a dog sitting in front of a computer, right? We've all seen this, and the tagline is nobody knows you're a dog on the internet. And I feel like that captures what we're doing really well. So as long as you're dealing with people in good ways, which we want to have happen on the internet, you ought to be you should be anybody that you want to be. So whether you're living here in the U.S. or you're living in Zimbabwe or something like that, it really doesn't matter. So there is this sense in which we're really kind of democratizing opportunity for people all over the world.
I suppose the big challenge to solve as far as separate identities like that is for your identity that you would use basically for one, I guess, aspect of your life to still have some, I guess, skin in the game attached. If it's just an anonymous identity that you can throw away, then I guess there's not really much incentive to use it responsibly. So I mean,
Well, I mean,
I don't know how that would be solved. But, sorry, go
But
ahead.
that's where the reputation comes in, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It
absolutely,
takes
absolutely.
takes a long time to accrue reputation for a particular identity,
Yeah,
and if
it's
you're
time
going to throw
invested.
it away,
Sure.
then
Yeah, I mean,
you'll lose.
if you want to, if you want to have, disposable identities, that's a choice that people can make, but know
Mm.
that, your reputation and your trustworthiness is, fairly new or fairly low, and
Mm.
so, people will decide whether they want to interact or transact with you, on the basis of that. So
Right.
that's a choice that both parties can make, and we're not making judgments on those choices. We're hopefully facilitating those choices and helping people make some good decisions online.
Excellent. Thank you for your question, Montreal Claire. I'm
Yeah,
going to
thank
drag you
you.
up
Hey,
This
no
is
screen.
this is
problem. Thanks for
this is
having me on.
great.
All right. Take care. I'm going to drag up Ryan Yi. Ryan Yi is an analyst at CoinFund. He studies blockchain projects all day long. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Can you hear us?
Hi. Yeah.
Ryan, you get a few hearts from me. Thank you for all your hard work. Ryan, any thoughts on HubToken and some questions that people might want to ask of the project? Um,
Yeah. So, one thing that I do often in my work when I review different blockchain projects is that these are projects that have long roadmaps. And so one of my questions is, what is sort of the short-term roadmap for HubToken?
Yeah, great question. So we really believe we want to be one of the projects that helps bring um, blockchain and crypto to the mainstream. And our preference is that we'd like to do that as soon as possible, because the more engagement and the more development in this technology, the better world we're going to live in. So we're working on the technology right now. We had a test net last year that was internal for testing. We're going towards a launch pretty soon of our protocol, and we're looking at kind of two main kind of what we call test applications that will really test out the protocol. We are also in discussions with a lot of partners to basically power their reputation system, and so that's exciting. We're going to have some announcements soon, but we're we believe that we need to do something to directly prove the value of what we're doing. So the first thing that we're doing is a reputation system around ICOs, believe it or not. So we see that there's obviously a gap in trust around ICOs and the investors and contributors who participate in them. And we believe that if we have something that holds water, we should be able to help increase trust in this context. And so we're working on a reputation system around ICO projects, and also investors, because ICO projects also need to, to some extent, KYC and develop some trust around their investors. And so there's a really interesting project away coming soon that will that will people can use to basically look at and participate in evaluating ICOs and basically giving them kind of a reputation score. And then for the investor side, we're looking at how we can incorporate things like KYC into it to make it so that ICO projects can kind of identify and assess the trustworthiness of various investors or contributors that they might come into contact with. So that's one thing. We'll hope to talk in more details about that pretty soon. It's actually going to be available in the not too distant future. And then
Awesome.
yeah, that's
I
just
was
the
just
first
gonna
one.
say, Eric, can you talk a little bit about like the technology? Maybe let's not get into the weeds, but is this a project that you're building on Ethereum? Is this a blockchain that you guys are developing in house? Like what does the technology stack look like?
Yeah, so we're prototyping on Ethereum right now. And we're also looking at other options. I think there are some well recognized, let's say, limitations right now on Ethereum, both in terms of scalability and cost. And so we have some actually pretty high demands for transactions, and we'd like to look at value chains as well. So we're out looking for where we can really have a home for our system. From blockchains like Stellar and EOS to ultimately implementing our own blockchain in the long run. So it is causing us some challenges to find kind of the right blockchain on which we can build this technology. Um, but we're definitely interested to see if we can get something out there quickly, and then in the background be upgrading our blockchains to take advantage of new developments that are obviously coming with a lot of these blockchain projects.
Cool. And we just had a question from the audience around where can users learn more about the project and read the white paper?
Yeah, so we have a Telegram group, HubToken. It's no spaces or underscores or anything. So I would encourage you to check that out. We also have a website called hubtoken.org, and our white paper is right there. And there's more information, and we're going to publish more information there as well.
Okay, fantastic. Ryan, thank you for your question. I'm going to
Thanks,
drag you
Ryan.
off. Cool, awesome. And Eric, how big is your team, and sort of like how long have you guys been working on this project?
Yeah, so the whole team has been really working together with me for about a year now, and we've got a pretty small team with about 5 people in the core team here in Silicon Valley. We've gotten a lot of help from the community, really around the world. I think there's a lot of expertise uh, around the world, and in particular, we're working with a team out of the Ukraine right now, who's got some really great experience around blockchain, and we've really benefited from interacting with them and having them, critique and suggest, ways to improve our technology. But
Fantastic.
we're always looking for more talent, though. As you know, there's not enough talent in this space to do all the things that everybody wants.
That's definitely true. Okay, well, thank you very much, Eric. Once again, this has been CoinFund Q&A for the first time ever on the Rize platform. I think we had a blast getting your guys' emojis, and oh, it looks like Adi is in the audience. So let's see if we can get Adi up here. One moment, Adi. Hey, Adi.
Hey guys.
What's up? So Adi is the CEO of you now and is responsible for this platform that we're on. This is Eric from
Hi,
HubToken.
Hey,
Eric. This was a great
congratulations,
session.
Adi. I love this app.
Thank you very much. It's really great to have you on it. And I was just chatting with a few people in the audience. I was dragging them into my group. And these folks are, props purchasers, some of them. And for them, it's really terrific to hear about other projects, especially, marquee ones like yours. So I'm really glad that Jake and you can be here, and this is content that is really interesting for our users.
I
Awesome.
hope that this will be the beginning of many more exciting chats on Rise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great.
Wonderful. Thanks for coming, guys.
Adi, thank you for making this possible. Eric, thank you very much for explaining HubToken. And for anybody in the audience who wants to learn more, check out hubtoken.org. And there's a white paper on there and some very interesting prospects for digital identity in the kind of digital world that we will have in the future.
Thanks, guys. I had a blast.
Okay, thanks, Eric, for joining.
Okay,
Take care.
thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for all your love. And maybe we'll do this again sometime. Signing off. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.